I want to have an ownership of what I'm doing, but also be passionate about it, because then it's not a job. I don't feel like I've had a job in 18 years.
When you're driven, the need to accomplish a goal is relentless. Hard work and ambition compel you to do whatever's necessary. In my work as a personal injury trial lawyer for 18 years, it's common to meet driven people. Those with drive can have different personalities, careers, or backgrounds, but they possess one common factor. Despite their passions, driven people want to surround and motivate themselves with other driven people. If you want to learn how to overcome obstacles by learning from others, then tune in here. This is the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into episode 70 of the Driven Crowd Podcast, fueled by Snellings Law. I'm your host, Scott Snellings. I'm joined today by the Director of Real Estate for Blue Star Land, a Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones entity, Amy Pratt. Amy received her degree in mass communications at the University of South Carolina before beginning her career with the Phoenix Coyotes. She then became a sales consultant with the Cowboys before spending 7 years with the Legends. She then moved to the real estate side of the Dallas Cowboys and Jones family and has now spent 7 years in her current position. Amy, welcome to the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Thank you so much. And happy 3 years, right?
Thank you. Yes, we had no idea that we just have celebrated 3 years of the Driven Crowd Podcast, and we just figured that out while we were talking before the show. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, Amy, so tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up and how did you get to where you are today?
Awesome. It's a little bit long, so I'll shorten it a little bit for the time.
Go for it.
But I grew up in Arizona, a little small town called Chino Valley outside of Prescott, which is northern Arizona, and spent my whole life there, and then grew up in a very sports athletic family. So played volleyball and basketball, but ended up getting a volleyball scholarship to the University of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks.
SEC right there. That's serious.
Right. Yep. So moved out to South Carolina, spent time there, got my college degree, played some volleyball, and then it was time to find a big girl job. So so after college, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but knew I wanted to work in sports. So kind of felt like I was interviewing for months and months before hockey was actually coming out of a lockout. And the Phoenix Coyotes, at that time they were the Phoenix Coyotes, were hiring. So took whatever job I could get. And it ended up being a group sales job in their ticket sales department.
So question about that real quick.
Yeah.
Did a Phoenix girl have the first clue about hockey?
It's funny. No. I mean, growing up in sports, I knew about hockey.
Yeah.
But that was one of the challenges too when we worked there. It was like you would call people and they're like, hockey in the desert? Doesn't the ice melt? You know, you get all the cliche things. But at that time, Wayne Gretzky was the head coach and GM, which again, knowing sports and knowing athletics, he is the greatest.
Yep.
But getting people to understand that and know that he's, on the ice and there at the games, was an interesting sales tactic that we had to use. But it was fun working there. I learned a lot and it kicked off my sports career. So
very cool. So Phoenix Coyotes, and then where did you jump to from there?
So then at that time, there was rumblings of Mr. Jones of the Cowboys wanting to build the best stadium in sports in Dallas, Texas. So, I knew I wanted to continue my career in sports. And so there was an opportunity for me to move out to Texas. I was only supposed to be here for 2 years, and open up the new stadium and be one of the 30 sales reps to sell out the most expensive ticket in sports.
And I can tell you from a consumer here in the Dallas area, that was the first time we'd ever heard of PSLs.
Yep.
And
it really was. I mean, some stadiums had them, but it was, minimal or smaller sections. But this really kicked off the idea of a PSL or seat option for all the new stadiums that have been built.
Yeah. And real quick, for those people who have no idea what I'm talking about, what is a PSL?
It's a personal seat license. And so basically it gives you ownership of the seats for the life of the stadium or whatever set years that they do. And that gives you the right to purchase your tickets every year for the life of the contract. So it really gives you ownership in the stadium. A lot of other teams do it differently, but it all, in a sense, is that. You pay either upfront fee and then you have access to those seats for all games.
Gotcha. Okay, so you end up at the Cowboys selling those PSLs for the stadium to open. And then how long were you there?
So I was in that role for about 2 years and we opened up the stadium. And what's unique is the stadium was built to be open 365 days. I mean, that was the Jones family idea and plan, is that they wanted anybody that could come into the stadium, whether it was for a tour, a private event, a big stadium, ticketed event, whatever it was, they wanted to show off the stadium and it be open 365. At the old stadium, they actually had a tour program where you could, buy a ticket in the pro shop, and then they would take you on a tour, show you the locker room and the field. But as anybody from Texas knows, it was a very unique stadium and really old. So there wasn't a ton to see.
There's a big hole in the roof too.
Exactly. So the Jones family wanted to implement that same tour business at the stadium. So they did through the pro shop, but what they quickly learned is a brand new stadium and the largest stadium was pretty popular. And so the processes that they used at the old stadium wasn't necessarily working at the new one. And so I was brought to me to say, hey, do you want to run this tour program, develop it, and grow it? And I was like, you know what? I don't know anything about tours. I know nothing about tourism, but I'll figure it out.
Right.
So I was given the ability to hire 15 sales reps, very similar to how we ran our PSL campaign too. We'd have sales reps, and then we had a whole operation side too. Was able to hire 15 sales reps to go and sell tour tickets, and then also mirror it a little bit like minor league baseball. You have group tickets. You can do Boy Scout nights and Girl Scout nights, and you could take your company out to a game and buy group tickets. We were taking that kind of mindset into this business plan of how do we get people to come visit the stadium if they can't afford a ticket, right? How do you get behind the scenes to see the stadium, to see all the cool things? For that time it was $15 to come and get access and get a feeling and be part of the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So develop different types of tours, all that, put that together. And we went from touring about 40,000 a year to almost $500,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
So it was awesome. It was really cool to do.
I bet Jerry was happy with that. That was a successful job.
It was. And then at that time, we also had a private event business. So again, if your company wanted to go host a gala or just a business meeting at the stadium, we had over 30 different spaces within that stadium. And again, the mindset of let's keep this open, let's keep filling it outside of just the Cowboys games. So it was brought to me to kind of revamp that business and grow it very similar to that we did to the tour business. So took over that business as well. I know you've had Monique Boyd on here as a guest, and she kind of ran the operation in the food and beverage side. Well, my job was to run the sales side. So I hired some salespeople to get out there, work with the CVBs and work with different companies to just keep that building full.
All right. So you mentioned something there when you were asked to take over this building out the tourism program or the stadium tours program. You had zero background in that, but you said, you know what, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
All right. Where does that mindset come from?
I think just probably my parents and just how I was raised is, if you're given a task, don't just say no, or don't just say I'm not qualified for it. You go in and take advantage of it and learn, because obviously it's being brought to you for a reason. I do say figure it out a lot. It's a coin that I use within things, because the rest of my story is also a lot of figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge too. And I think it's fun. I think it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you with the ability to keep an open mind and learn about new things. And it doesn't keep you so siloed in what you think you know. It allows you to open those doors and continue to grow your career, but also learn so much about what's out there.
Absolutely. And to me, it seems like it's kind of a muscle, right? The more you get in that groove of, you know what, I can figure this out. I can figure that out. We can figure this out together. What it ends up doing is it takes the fear away, maybe not all the way, but it definitely reduces the fear.
Yep.
And it also forces you to kind of rely on other people too. Put that ego in check.
Yep.
Right. Which is one of the hardest things for
much.
Any driven person to do is put that ego aside and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. I know I can figure it out. Who has done this?
Right.
Because most of what I'm trying to figure out is a solved problem. We just got to figure out who's already solved it.
Yep.
And then how to adapt that to what we do.
And know, and having that in the back of your mind that someone has trusted you with this. So there's a reason you're in that position. So you've got that going. And then it's, go out and find somebody that knows it. And my biggest thing too, when I hired someone, is I always wanted to hire someone that knew a little bit more than me, or that was willing to do, go those extra miles. When I took over the private event business, I hired 2 people from the hotels industry because they knew that. I knew nothing about food and beverage. I knew nothing about private events. I mean, there's, how many tables can you fit in a room? How many chairs? All that stuff. And it was like, I know I can figure this out, but if I get some salespeople that really know it, we can work together, right? And then it gives them a little bit of credit too, to like, they're starting to build their career, and it gives them confidence, and it helps them build that throughout the year.
And it also gives them ownership over the final result.
Yep.
And so it's one thing to be hiring people and saying, okay, go do this, that, and the other. When you ask them, hey, how should this be done? Well, guess who's going to work harder to make sure that result is a good result, right? It's the people with ownership. There's a great book, Turn the Ship Around. And that's the premise of the whole book. It's a submarine captain who, basically empowers his crew to be the absolute best at their specific position. And if something's not right, tell us.
Right.
Tell us. And what ends up happening is they go from the worst crew in the Navy to the best submarine crew in the Navy. And it was really cool to listen to that book and hear those principles applied.
Right.
And so it's called Turn the Ship Around. For those of you that missed it, definitely recommended on the Driven Crowd reading list. So, all right, you hire these people and they do a great job for you. You made another point earlier of, look, if somebody put you in that position, that means they think that you can do it.
Yep.
And where a lot of people get tripped up there too is the imposter syndrome of, oh my gosh, they think I can do way more than I can. And that is such a stumbling block. Did you ever deal with that?
A little bit, but I think what I was able to do is early on, I found some mentors within the business, within the organization, and outside that I leaned on to say, is this really something I can do? Like, is this, or flat out say, I don't think I'm qualified for this. And then they would talk me off the ledge and say, you're fine, you can do it. But to your point too, it's a little bit, you got to humble yourself a little bit and say, there's a reason I was given this. There was a reason it was brought to me. So just go figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds so simple.
It does sound simple, right? And
yes.
And actually living it is a little bit more difficult. You also had mentioned that, you always tried to hire people that were smarter than you. And anytime I feel like I probably know the most in the room about something, I get out of that room as fast as I possibly can.
Yes.
Because I can tell you, each of the team members at our law firm knows more than I do about the day-to-day of their job. And that's exactly how it should be. And we have our firm set up to where, hey, if you see something that's not working, or if you have an idea on how to make something better, the expectation is that you come to us with that because we're constantly trying to grow.
Yep.
And I think when you have that mindset and the people that you surround yourself with, both inside and outside of work, then man, you can really, it's really a life hack in terms of growth, both personally, professionally, spiritually, whatever it is.
And it's full transparency. It's bringing, not only allowing them ownership of what you're doing, but bringing them in and allowing them to see your day to day. I mean, I would have sales reps come with me to meetings, and not only, were they able to experience it, but then I was able to lean on them too about it. It wasn't just, boss Amy and there's your sales team, go sell something. It was, how are we making this a business together? How are we growing it? Because if they're bought in, if you're bought in, they're bought in. And my biggest thing too is that passion, right? For me, it's more than just a job. I don't want it to be a job. I don't want to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5. Right. I want to have an ownership of what I'm doing, but also be passionate about it, because then it's not a job. I don't feel like I've had a job in 18 years.
That is, and unfortunately, these days, it seems kind of like you're one of the lucky ones, right? How many people do you know that have the Sunday scaries and they're just like, oh, I can't wait till the next Friday.
Right.
We spend so much time at our jobs. Like, that's just no way to live life.
That's right.
No way. Yeah. So totally agree with that. All right. So you're at the Cowboys, you have the tourism or the tour package. What's next?
So at that time, a company called Legends was developing even to a bigger company. And Legends is owned by the Jones family and the Steinbrenners of the Yankees. And it originated as a food and beverage company, and both teams ran their food and beverage at their new stadiums from Legends. As going back a little bit to the ticket sales days, a lot of teams were coming to the Jones family and saying, hey, you did this right. Like, we want to renovate our stadium, or we want to reprice our stadium, or we want to build a new stadium. How did you do it? And so instead of it being, well, let's just go tell them how Jerry did it and the team did it, it was, let's make this an arm of Legends. So Legends Sales and Marketing became an arm where teams would hire us to go out and help them with the renovations of stadiums, help them build a new stadium. First of the few couple projects was Rose Bowl Stadium was doing a whole renovation. So they hired Legends to go help sell their premium seats. Same thing with the 49ers when they were building their new stadium. They hired Legends to totally implement all of their PSLs and all of that. Well, this arm that has become pretty successful at the time, which was the private event and tour business, which any owner of a team wants to have an additional revenue stream, you would think.
Those stadiums are expensive.
Yeah.
You need to pay for it.
If I could come to an owner and tell him, hey, I could bring you an additional revenue stream of $5 to $15 million, would you be interested? And obviously I would think most of the answers, it was yes. And that's that private event and tour business. And so I was kind of tasked with another figure it out moment of, tagging on to our Legends team of going out and pitching to these owners, hey, while you're renovating, while you're building a new stadium, think about this additional revenue stream. So I implemented a tour business at Rose Bowl, which it's 100 years old and it had never had tours before.
Really?
You could never, the only way you could get in there was for a game. They did a lot of filmings because it's in California, TVs and stuff, but really you couldn't get in there and tour. And to be honest, there were some cool things. Everyone wants to see something they can't see, right?
Yeah, of course.
I went in there and there was a storage room, and I was walking in it and I was like, what's this? And they're like, oh, that was the first locker room. It's horrible. And I go, open it up. And they're like, no, there's old lockers in there. And I said, open it up. I said, this has to be a tour stop because it's anybody at any age, again, wants to see something they can't see.
And who played in there? Who had these
right?
lockers?
And it's one of the coolest stadiums ever. And so we developed a tour program, built out that old locker room, and started to get people through the door. Same thing with Niners. So fast forward then 6 years, I'm on the road all the time, opening up private event and tour business, Atlanta Falcons new stadium. The Star in Frisco was one of them as well. And so kind of all over the place. So taking what we did at AT&T Stadium and growing it within our Legends company.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
So you eventually get back here, it sounds like, as you're opening up the Star, which for those of you listening who aren't in this area, that is the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. It is a joint partnership between the Dallas Cowboys and the city of Frisco. And it's a really cool stadium. We get to play high school football games here in it. And it's great for the Frisco students because they get to learn a lot at that stadium. A lot of the AV stuff is super high tech and they're getting to learn on those. There's also restaurant, shopping, living, all the things. So
everything.
Everything.
It's 90 acres of anything you could live, play, work, all of it there.
Exactly.
So,
and it's all centered around the actual stadium, which is, it's a really cool area. Very cool. All right. So after you kind of get through that part of your career, what comes next?
I was traveling a lot and it was wearing on me. I was looking at my future, which I didn't, to go back a little bit, I think once I got into the tour business, I wasn't really focused on my future, what I wanted to be, because I feel like when I was in ticket sales, it was like, oh, I'm going to continue in sports and I'll work in ticket sales and I'll become a director or whatever. That was kind of where my mind was. But when these doors were open to run a totally different department that I didn't even know, it was like, wait, why don't pigeonhole myself, right? Keep those doors open because opportunities are going to come. And so I was getting to the point where I was traveling a lot and I was like, I need to make a change. I don't know what that is and I'm not ready right now. But reached out to some of my mentors and a door opened up where I was asked, do I want to come on to the real estate side? And let me back up a little bit. It was, hey, we're building this residential tower at the Star on our campus.
Just 12?
It's called 12. Yep. And it was a partnership with Robert Shaw and Roger Staubach and Jerry Jones, hence the name 12. And so I thought at the time when I was being approached about it that it was going to be like another notch in my belt for Legends. Like somehow we're going to do a private event. I don't know. Maybe we're going to tour it. I don't know. So I was kind of just listening to what was being brought to me. And then what I realized is it was being brought to help open it, get it running, get it full. And I thought, wow, I don't know anything about real estate. I don't know anything about the apartment buildings. Like this isn't my realm. And then the other part of it
but it is your MO. You get into stuff you know nothing about.
Yes. And then it was after that, there's the Star District, which is restaurant retail. Like it's kind of the first multi-use resident or retail area that the Jones family has done. They've done them in the past, but it's typically get them built and then we sell them out. This is a legacy project. So we wanted to make sure it was, continuing on and growing and fulfilling its needs. And so I thought, okay, well, this is different. And they were like, yeah, go get your real estate license and you'll figure it out. I was like, heard that before. So I took the job on our real estate side and I ended up opening up 12. We stay anywhere from 96 to 100% leased. And then I've really focused on our restaurant and retail district out at the Star. So much so that I've started to move into some other of our projects up north and Prosper with the Gates of Prosper and other projects as well within the Cowboys realm.
Very cool. So you mentioned that you always tried to keep that door open for, opportunities to come. I'm sure you had several other opportunities as well that you passed on. Can you take us through your thought process in evaluating these opportunities and what you thought might be right for you?
Great question. I think, I always try to take the advice that I give my peers and mentees that keep those doors open, right? One, but then also really dive in and don't turn away an opportunity. And so, yes, I've always looked at opportunities that have been given to me and say, let me really vet it out. Is this really something I want to do? Because there's always the bright, shiny star out there, right? There's always some company that's going to come to you with more money. There's always going to be some company that's going to have like, ooh, go live on the beach and work here or whatever it is. Like there's always going to be that bright, shiny star that they're going to attract you with.
Super cool brand. I mean, you're already with the Cowboys, so I don't really know if that was a thinking point for you or not.
But there is, right? Yeah. Or like you said earlier, like when you get in that mode, which you try not to, of like, Sunday scaries. I don't want to be here anymore. We all get that. I'm not saying I've never been in that spot.
Sure, absolutely.
And so when an opportunity comes knocking, you're like, oh, this is my saving grace to get out of this hole. Again, I've leaned to my mentors to really say and vet it out. Like, does this make sense? And when you look at the organization I work for and all that it brings, again, I'll say it a million times, it's more than just a job and there's a passion to it and you're part of the family and the organization and you're part of something bigger, it's hard to leave.
It is.
And so I will always look at opportunities that come my way and who's to say one may be the right one. But when it comes down to it, I think I've been given great opportunities to continue and grow different types of businesses. And I think, I don't know where I'll go next, but you never know.
You never know. I think you bring up a massively important point here of just how important culture is. Mm-hmm. Right? If you're surrounding yourself, if you're hiring A players, if you're hiring people who are really, really good at what they do, they're going to have a bunch of opportunities. If you want to hold on to those people, you better have a really good culture because they're always going to be able to find more money. They're always going to be able to go to a position and find more money. And so is what you're offering them better than the extra money out there? And I think a lot of people just don't even think about that. And it's so, so important.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it's important for companies and businesses or just even if you're a 3-man business, whatever it is, it's people, culture, and process. If you get the right people in there, you'll create the right culture. And if you have the right process in, it'll all just mix together and put a kind of a bow on it. But culture is huge. And it doesn't just mean like the rah, let's go to a happy hour.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What is your day like when you arrive? How are you greeted? What's the first email you receive? And it's a culture, not even like if you're managing a team, but your peers. And then how are you managing up? I think culture is such a small term, but it can be spread out so big. And I think people lose sight of that. It doesn't need money to build culture. And you don't need a rah-rah person. You don't need a type A person. It'd be great. We're awesome sometimes. We're a lot. But you can build a culture with all different types of tools. And so if you can start with that, your people will then come because you'll get the right people and then implement the right processes, and then you'll be smooth sailing.
Awesome. All right. I want to switch over to Amy Pratt personally.
Oh, yes.
Are you a routine person?
I wish I was.
Okay. So you're not.
I am and I'm not. I think I am with certain things, and other things I'm just kind of like, whatever, it happens.
Okay. Do you think that made it easier when you were traveling so much, not having that just like consistent routine that you went through day to day?
Yes.
Right.
I think being able to just adjust to what's coming. I mean, to this day, I don't know what next week looks like. Yes, I have some meetings on the calendar, but who knows what's going to pop up. And so being able to adjust or figure it out.
Yep, exactly.
I think is helpful to have that in your DNA.
Yeah. And I think like, that's why my morning routine is so important to me, because that's kind of the one part of my day that I can control. To your point, I have a day planned out, and then I walk into the office or I get a phone call or whatever, and it all goes out the window, and it's a completely different day than what I was planning on. I can usually control when my day starts, not necessarily when it ends.
Right.
And so for me, having that morning routine is huge, but that morning routine kind of depends on me being home.
Right.
You know, in terms of like how I get my workout and my normal stuff that I do. And so when I was traveling last week to the mastermind conference that you and I were talking about in South Carolina.
Yep.
And it threw me off because I was outside of my routine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a benefit that some non-routine people have.
Right. I wish I did. I would say, it's funny. I really try to work out every day, but I know if I don't get a workout in the morning, it's not happening. As much as I want it to happen in the afternoon, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But also if I skip a few days, I can feel it. So trying to keep that routine, I guess, of working out is a big one for me.
Yeah. And you have Cowboys Fit. You're like right there. The gym is right there. Really nice one.
So busy all the time, though.
It is.
It's a good problem.
Exactly. You've done your job well.
Yes.
All right. So you have a whole lot going on your day-to-day, it sounds like. How do you manage your time?
I've had to learn that a lot throughout the years, mainly because I don't want to let people down. And I want to be able to meet with everybody or help everybody. And I think one of my faults is I'll say yes a lot, right? Sure, I'll do it. I'll do this. And then it's like, wait a minute, I've now overcommitted, whether it's my personal life or my work or anything, anything that I've done. It's, hey, do you want to be on this board? Hey, do you want to be involved in this? Yes, 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 yes. Because, I see these opportunities of I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to be around some cool people, all of this. And I've had to really narrow that down and learn how to say no. But what hurts me is saying no, right? You have that guilty feeling of like I'm letting somebody down. But I've really tried to time manage of, again, let me get a workout in the morning because I know that's going to help my day out. I get peers and people that are just starting their career that want to meet with me, and I love it. You can have 30 minutes, you can have an hour. So I try to knock those out in the morning. And then the day just goes crazy. But I think in my mind, I've learned time management in a good way, really from when I played volleyball at South Carolina, because we had to learn a lot then about time management. So that's helped. But I think the biggest thing that's helped me with time management is learning how to say no.
And that's so big, right? Because the further you get in your career, the more demands on your time there are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of ways that I've found that to really help with that is, yes, say no. Like, is this going to benefit me personally?
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to benefit the firm? Or am I just trying to be nice?
Right.
And then another thing is delegate, right? Like, what am I doing that I have no business doing? Is this the best use of my time for the firm, for my family, or whoever, whatever? And that's really hard to do, really hard to do. And it requires you to sometimes make a hire.
Right.
That is not a revenue generating hire.
Which is hard to do.
It's really hard to
and
do,
hard to
right?
justify.
Exactly. Like, Scott now needs 2 executive assistants.
Right.
Okay, well, you can't bill out their time. We don't bill out time anyway, but they're not generating any revenue.
Right.
But
But are they helping you grow the business?
Exactly.
They are generating the revenue in a way.
They're allowing me to
There you
generate
go. Yep.
more, right? And so, or allowing me to take time to refresh. Because I don't know about you, I have the consistent problem of running as hard as I can and then hitting a wall. And then it takes a week or two for me to recover if I can find time to recover.
Yep.
Sometimes you just kind of have to do that based on what's going on. But I don't do a good enough job of identifying like, oh, this is going to be a rough stretch. What can I do to take care of myself? Physically, yes, but really emotionally / spiritually to make sure that I'm not hitting those walls because I'm not my best.
Right.
I'm not even good sometimes when I hit that burnout. I'm just kind of doing enough to make sure that everything is still going.
Right.
Do you struggle with that too?
I do. What I've done, I would say in the past few years too, is I start to block me time on my calendar, right? It's, do I need that time? Do I need to have lunch with this person? Or can we meet for 45 minutes before or after? Because I love lunch meetings, but it kind of wears you out because that should be your time to refuel yourself, but then also kind of get ready for the afternoon. So I either try to block that out, don't do lunches every single day. And I'll block out, a 10 o'clock meeting. And that's a me meeting, right? And it doesn't mean like I'm going to sit down and do emails. It could be anything. It could be making a phone call to a friend. It could be whatever it is. It's just that little bit of time to like decompress from whatever you're doing. I also love to drive too. So if I'm in the car, I won't take phone calls. It's like, give me my music. And then sometimes I will. So it's like, how do you organize that time where you have consciously given yourself me time?
And I've done that before. I've scheduled full days off once a month. And guess what's the first thing to go whenever something is urgent and needs to get done, right?
That day.
Yeah. And so I just need somebody. Well, in fact, my EA is the only one who can schedule things for me now because I would jack up my calendar all the time. So I'm not even allowed to touch. I don't even think I have access to add things to my calendar anymore. But it needs to just be a rule of, even if it's just that hour meeting. I love that idea. I've never done that. I've tried to take too much time.
I mean, now that the weather is beautiful, take a walk or just go sit outside, even if you're going to make a phone call outside. But it's just knowing that you are taking that break and that's not going to be taken by someone else or something else.
Yeah. All right. It's clear that mentors have had a huge impact on you. You've mentioned them 4 or 5 times now.
Yep.
How did you go about finding those mentors? And what would you suggest to those who are listening who are in search of a mentor?
A lot of it organically happens.
Yes.
It's really hard for me to say, come to you and say, I want you to be my mentor. Well, do you want to be a mentor? Do you have time to be a mentor? And are you the right fit? So I think most of mine have been organically. I think maybe one that I can think of, I've pressured to be my mentor. He's our sales trainer, and Lance Tyson, he's great, but I like pressure him to be my mentor. He enjoys it, but also I annoy him in a good way. But I think if you can find someone that one has seen your success or seen a little bit of your failure or has been around you, go after them. And it kind of organically happens in my mind. Are you meeting for coffee? Are you making the phone call? Are you sending an email of like, hey, can you just help me out? Yeah. It's not wrong. Even somebody within your company, hey, I need some guidance.
Hey, I'm trying to figure this out.
Can you help me? I think another one of my mentors I found, again, organically, because when I first came to the Cowboys, I was like, I need to learn. I know a little bit about the Phoenix Coyotes organization, but I need to learn more about this organization. So I tasked myself with, let me go out and find different departments and different people in departments, and let me just meet with them and learn about them. It wasn't me, hey, I want a job, or hey, I want to, annoy you. And if they didn't take my meeting or didn't take time with me, that's okay. Like I wasn't offended by it. But when you find those people that want to meet with someone that's growing in their career, those are the mentors, right?
Absolutely.
And it may be one you talk to every 6 months. It may be one that you talk to every day. Have those different types that you can reach out to with different areas of need that you have. And the other thing is, be a mentor.
Yes.
I didn't realize how much I would love it, but I bring me whoever, because either I can help them that day with that issue, or I can help them long-term over the years. And I always tell someone when they meet, I'm like, I will be here for you, but it's on you to get something set with me. It's on you. So if you don't need me for 6 months, that's fine. But I'm not going to constantly check on you unless you need me to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that organic stick happens, right? Like there's
Absolutely.
some that I've met with once and it's great and they've thanked me for it. And there's others that it's constant on my calendar. Once a month we're meeting, and it could be about personal stuff. It could be about professional, or it could just be like, I just needed to get away and talk to someone that's not in my department or whatever it is.
And I think that's such an important point too, because I've had kind of what I refer to as accidental mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with asking them for help with like an issue. If you go up to somebody and ask them to be your mentor, that's a massive ask.
Yes.
Like, at least for me,
Yep.
if somebody asked me to be the mentor, because all of a sudden it's like, okay, I don't have the time
What
to be
are
your
their
mentor.
expectations? Are they
I want to
expecting-
pour into you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make that commitment because I don't think I can honor it. Now, if someone, on LinkedIn asks me a question, I've had law students ask me questions before. Hey, I'm thinking about X. What recommendations do you have? Oh, I'm more than happy to do that. And then if they reach back out again, I would probably answer the next question, the next question. Then all of a sudden, I'm their mentor. I never signed up for it.
Right.
But we've developed a relationship. And every good mentor that I've had, there's been a relationship there first, or that's formed through me asking questions.
Yep.
And I think that's massive. So for any of you looking for mentors, I think there's also this misperception that mentors are for young people.
Oh yeah. No, I hope I have mentors until I die. I'm going to need it through life.
Yeah. I have mentors that are younger than me.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
But it's helpful because there's so much change. And I'm sure this is what our parents said too. There's so much change happening, but there is. And we were talking about ChatGPT and AI and all that stuff. It's like, you almost need the younger generations to kind of help you. Not even, maybe it's that, or just to help understand, so we don't have a preconceived notion of what that generation's like.
Yeah.
Get involved with them, understand where their mindset is and how they're thinking.
Yeah. Or younger mentors to tell me what on earth my kids are saying to me, because I don't understand that half the time. All right. So we are down to our final question.
Okay.
All right. Give me your top 3 books that you would recommend.
Oh my gosh.
Be fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter.
Oh no.
Or they can be podcasts, whatever kind of learning that you would, or just what you really enjoy doing.
I will say my mentors, Lance Tyson, has now written 2 books.
Okay.
And he's going to kill me because I don't remember exactly what they're called. So actually I can get that and we can re-record this if you want.
Well, no. What's it about?
Selling.
Okay. So 2 selling books.
Selling is a way game.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
And I think that hits home because it just kind of gives you a different perspective of how to sell. Like, I think a lot of salespeople get nervous and get in that mindset of like, I have to go ask for the sale right away. And he, through the years of him teaching us too and coaching us, it's easy. Sales is really easy if you just have a different mindset.
Yeah.
So, and you play the away game of it.
Okay. Very cool.
The 4 Agreements, I've read that multiple times.
Mm-hmm. We've had several people recommend that one on this.
Yeah. And man, what's another one? How to Influence.
Win Friends and Influence Others.
Yes, thank you.
You bet. Absolutely.
So
another
those
great
3.
one.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Amy, thank you so much. I feel like time has absolutely flown by today. So I appreciate your time being here, especially in person.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone listening to another episode of the Driven Crowd podcast. We'll see you next time.